Today is Thursday, Parashat Emor. We're learning the Chok Leisrael, and we'll explain the psukim from the Ketubim for today, the 5th day of the week of Parashat Emor. Tov Rash holech betumo meikesh derachayim ve'ashir. So it says here, Tov Rash, better is a person who's poor in knowledge of Torah. Ve'olech betumo, but still he acts in an honest way. He deals in business honestly. Meikesh derachayim ve'ashir. He's much better than a person that knows a lot of Torah, that he's like wealthy in the way ashir beTorah. However, when he acts in business or in his dealings with people, he doesn't deal honestly, and he doesn't do things in a trustworthy way. And people say, look at this person, he learns a lot of Torah, but his actions in practice are totally wrong. And there's chilul shem shamayim that way. So better not to know so much Torah, but to act honestly, than to know a lot of Torah and to act improperly. The next pasuk, Notzer Torah ben mevin, vero'eh zelolim yachlim aviv. Notzer Torah, a person who observes the laws of the Torah, he follows mitzvot. Ben mevin, he is the son of a person who educated him that way, and he brings honor to his father. In other words, that the actions of the child are a reflection on how the parents raised him. So a person who observes laws of Torah, who follows the way, typically you can say, kol hakavod to the parents, to the father who taught him that way. Vero'eh im zolelim, and a person who becomes friends with people who are no good, he brings embarrassment to his father. Yachlim aviv brings embarrassment to his father, because people will say, what happened? This child is not acting properly. It must be, again, typically that the father didn't raise him properly. And that's why here the Ketubim, Mishlei by Shlomo HaMelech, emphasize here the idea of education of Torah to the children. So as you raise them in the way of Torah, they'll continue typically to act in the proper way and to bring honor to the parents. Marbe hono beneshech v'tarbit lechonen dalim yekabetzen. So he says here, a person who adds more wealth, he becomes rich, but through charging interest to fellow Jews. In other words, there were some poor people who needed help. He gave them a loan, but he charged them interest, which is not allowed. All that money that he's been collecting, lechonen dalim yekabetzenu, eventually, that money, which is not money that is kosher money, will eventually go to, according to the explanation here of Rashi, that it will go to the government. They'll collect it from him and use that money to do things for the society, for the people of the community, and that way, the poor people that this guy took from interest improperly, the money will go back to help the people in the community, and those poor people will be assisted by that money that was earned from them improperly. It goes back to help them. So in other words, it's in the long term, that money that this guy earned through charging interest is got to be taken from him and given to be helping the people in the community somehow. Mesir ozno mishemo al-Torah, gam tefilato to'eva. A person who says, I don't need to listen again to Torah, I've heard already this before. Last year we spoke about this parasha again, and he doesn't want to hear again the Torah. Such a person, when he prays, his prayer is despised. He might come to pray and think that, everything is fine, but actually, Talmud Torah is so important, learning Torah, that a person should always be ready to hear more Torah, and even if it's something that is repeated from before, you can always discover another angle that you did not know before. Mashgei yesharim bederech ra, bishchuto hu yipol utmimim min haluto. So he says a person who leads others on a bad path, on a way of danger, he leads people improperly, in the wrong advice. He himself will fall eventually it'll catch up with him, and what he wanted to cause to others, he'll be himself punished with the same thing. Utmimim, those who act in an honest and proper way and in an innocent way, in Chalutov, in the long term, they're the ones that will inherit goodness. In other words, they'll be rewarded for their honesty, for the way that they gave good advice to people, and they always made sure that if they led people in a certain way, that it would be the proper way. These were the psukim from Ktubim that we learned today in Chok Leisrael, Yom Chamishi, the 5th day of the week of Parashat Emor. Baruch Adonai Ne'onam, Amen ve'amen.